Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to the Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
What's going on, Rally? How you doing, man?
I'm cold, bro. That's what I am. I'm cold, but at the same time, I'm not as cold as those Dallas Cowboy fans. Yeah, I'm not as cold as they are. Let's get it, bro.
So I watched every game this weekend except for the Cowboys game.
What?
Right? And it killed me. The wife, number one, I don't like contributing to their ratings. I don't want to help boost Jerry Jones's ego, so I try not to pay attention. But the wife dragged me to go see Mean Girls, that new movie/musical that came out. So we're sitting there with some of our neighbors and their friends, and we're at the. You ever been to an Alamo Draft House?
The one in Arlington?
No, Alamo. So they got one in Woodbridge, they got one in Reston, and one in Loudoun, and then there's one in DC. It's a movie theater, and it's got a full menu. You can order you can't order. You got like burgers and chicken sandwiches and pizza, like a bunch of beers, cocktails, stuff like that.
Like Cine Bistro.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
But I like it because if somebody talks or if they play on their cell phone, you hit a button on your little table and then you leave the person a note, like the manager a note, and they'll kick that person out. Right. So
what?
It's nice because you don't have to worry about getting into an argument with someone because they're playing on their phone the entire time. The only problem is when your wife drags you to a movie and the Cowboys are playing the Packers and the Packers are just stomping that ass and you're checking your cell phone and then you're that guy that management gets called to come talk to say, put your phone away.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to go back and watch the replay and I'm just so happy. So unbelievably happy because I'm just thinking about all those Cowboy fans that flooded our stands that were giving you a hard time at that last game, and the ones that I was talking to in the tailgate and the parking lots and everything else, and the fact that them and the Eagles are both going to be sitting on their couch this weekend watching the games just like we are.
Well, hey, man, I told all the Cowboy fans, make way for the regular season champs. The regular season champs are here, and sure enough, that's what they are. And I don't look past it any further than what it is, the regular season champs. And it looks to me as if they went into this game thinking, it's 7th seed. We haven't lost at home in a couple years. We got this. We're ready for San Fran. That's what it seemed like to me. And Mike Tyson said it so eloquently. We all have a plan until what? We get hit in the face. And they opted off the break. Give us the ball. Give us the ball. And they took it arrogant. And went right down and shoved it in their face, bro. 7 points. I like Green Bay. Green Bay did that. Green Bay got the ball back and scored first.
So happy to see that. I mean, it serves them right. And Prescott had 2 interceptions, got sacked a couple times because they made they won the NFC East. That drops them to 24th in the draft, and the Eagles are 22nd in the draft. Who knows what's going to happen? They're talking about McCarthy getting fired. I'm actually surprised he hasn't been fired yet.
Right.
And it says the Cowboys are the first team in NFL history to win 12 games in 3 straight seasons and fail to make the conference championship in any of them. So I get it. Hey, we lost to them. But the thing is, we all knew it was going to happen. They're just going to choke.
Yeah.
Romo choked in the playoffs. Dak Prescott's choking in the playoffs. Hey, whatever. You beat us. Doesn't matter. You pulled out turkey legs. All I'm going to say is karma. Because those guys were eating freaking fried cheese curds on the sideline after they kicked your ass. So
no doubt about it, bro. No doubt about it. And the thing is, there's as well as I do, and all our listeners know that the team is so talented to where that shouldn't happen. So what does it come down to? Does it come down to players or does it come down to coaching? What does it come down to? So like you said, I think it comes down to coaching because obviously Green Bay got rid of the guy, and now because basically Green Bay kind of did the exact same thing under him, although they do have a ring underneath him, if I'm not mistaken. So now he's just doing the exact same thing that Green Bay got rid of him for in Dallas, and now Dallas is probably going, like you said, going to wind up getting rid of him now.
Yeah, McCarthy won in 2011. So, but that was it's so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, I'm sorry, Dak, he had a chance to be NFL MVP. He was up there in the running, and Lamar Jackson, basically ran away with it towards the end of the season. And it's nice, more so for their fans, because we all hate the Cowboy fans. And then to see them lose, oh, we won the NFC East, because you had Commanders fans, right, that wanted to beat the Cowboys. And I get it. But the Commanders fans wanted to beat the Cowboys because they didn't want the Cowboys to win the East and have a home playoff game. Because Dallas is unbeatable at home. Well, guess not. Guess not. Didn't matter.
Never say never. That's what it is, man.
Yeah. Once January comes around, it's not the same Dallas. And it was it was great to see. And then looking at let's see here. Dak Prescott's grade, he got a 56.5 from PFF in that game.
Love it.
And I think that was actually his worst passing graded game was against Buffalo in week 15. He had a 36.8. But other than that, I mean, that was just pretty much garbage straight for him. And you know what? We're all sitting on the couch right now. And I would say out of the 4 teams in the NFC East, we got the brightest future ahead of us because you got Dallas that's in shambles. You got the Eagles who have Jason Kelsey crying on the sideline because the guy's about to retire, and Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert arguing on the field and on the sideline screaming at each other. I mean, that team looks like it's in shambles. And I love listening to Philly sports talk after they lose, especially after they lose a playoff game. I mean, it's like music to my ears, man. Just hearing all those Philly fans with that horrible accent yelling and screaming for Sirianni to get fired after the guy brought you to the Super Bowl last year. I mean, can you imagine that?
That's not going to happen. But yeah, I can. That just lets you know how fans can turn on you. I mean, I look at our fans. We'll turn on you in a heartbeat as well. So I think it's just fans overall. And no one knows, but we all have an opinion. And opinions are like, you know what? And we all got one. So after the games, to hear them talk and whine and boo-hoo, hey, man, it's par for the course. Just welcome to the couch.
Yeah, it is nice to see, man. And I doubt they're going to fire Sirianni. But hey, if they do, they do. I really don't care less because there are a couple of radio stations around the DMV that were talking on Monday, and for those wondering, it's Wednesday the 17th that we're recording this. With the Cowboys losing and the Eagles losing, and both of those franchises kind of up in the air, who knows what's going to happen. And the Giants on the bottom, Daniel Jones not doing too well there. Who knows where they're going to go? Do you think the Commanders are in a good position? And from my standpoint, it doesn't matter to me how good or how bad the Cowboys and Eagles and Giants are. We got our guy. We signed Adam Peters as our new GM, happened officially last Friday, and he flew into DC in a snowstorm on Monday. And this was the guy that everybody, for the most part, wanted. They interviewed 5 candidates. They narrowed it down to 2. I think Ian Cunningham with the Bears and Peters. And I almost feel like they just interviewed Cunningham, maybe just in case Peters turned him down. But did you watch his presser the other day?
Yes.
He was so refreshing.
And he was very excited to get down to work. And I love what he said. It could all just be fluff, but I don't believe that it is when he said he's ready to get down to work and he wants to build this thing the right way. And everyone knows that out of all the 31 other teams, that this destination is a powder keg ready to blow. We just need the right pieces and look out, man. And built the right way.
Amen.
Look out.
The built the right way part is what excites me the most. And This fan base is a sleeping giant. You
Mm-hmm.
know, everyone saw how we went back to Ashburn and training camp by the thousands, tens of thousands during different points. I mean, the first part of the year, it was our fans filling those stands. Right. The last part of the year, I get it. You know, people are
Yeah.
bandwagoning, but people are excited. And now we finally have a true general manager here, Adam Peters. And some fans are upset that he wasn't named head of football operations. It's like, what does it matter to you guys? He's our general manager, right? And
Yeah.
what they're not realizing is this is the Harris Group thinking ahead. Because when someone asks to interview Adam Peters later, they can promote him and not grant that interview. They can promote him from GM to head of football operations. So they actually have given themselves room to grow. Whereas Peters was the assistant GM for San Francisco, and San Fran wasn't going to get rid of their GM. So they had to grant that interview. This is actually Peters saying what appealed to him about Washington.
What appealed to you the most about Washington, since you did have options? And secondly, what's generally your approach in building out the front office and staff?
Hey, Nikki. Nice to meet you. I think I knew you a little bit in Denver. Well, everything is the answer to that question. Everything is exactly what a person in my seat would want. A great ownership group, a great fan base, the ability to start new with a new coach. All of those things were so appealing to me that really going through this process, it was very clear to me at a very early time, right when I met with Josh, this is where I wanted to be.
So Peters had a chance last year to leave. He turned down 2 interviews last season, and he actually interviewed, I want to say, with the Giants twice, and for whatever reason, didn't take that job. And he knew that this job was coming available. So he waited for the position here to open up, knowing everyone knew the writing was on the wall. Snyder's gone. Rivera's a dead man walking. This is going to happen. The Commanders are going to have a new ownership group, and they're going to have a ton of money. So he wanted to come here. Finally, for a change, like premier talent wanted to be here. People forget that we had to trade for Carson Wentz. No quarterback that was a free agent wanted to come here. We had to force him to come here. Peters turned down other interviews with other teams, said, no, I'm going there. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to be. And it's just so refreshing to know that we're, for once, we're the hot chick again, man.
Yeah, man. We're that 10. I shouldn't say 10. We're that 8, 9, 10. We're working our way to becoming a 10, but we're at 8 right now. 8, a hard 8.5, 9 possible. That's where we are. And all it's going to take now is to, hey, man, put a little lipstick on, a little rouge or whatever you call it. I don't know what you call it, but next thing you know, we will be that 10, and will we be back to where we were in our glory days. But we got to crawl before we walk. No one's saying Super Bowl next year, but we understand that the pieces are in place, and that's all we've ever asked is put the proper pieces in place. We got one down, and we've got a couple more to go. And I, for one, am along for the ride, and I cannot wait.
In my opinion, it's the most important piece because we haven't had a real GM here in a long time. I mean, you had Vinny Serrato, who was Snyder's racquetball partner, right? You had Bruce Allen, who was brought here to shake hands and kiss babies and didn't really do much. I was actually thinking about it. I remember they had a fan captain meeting at Redskins Park back then during the draft. And Bruce comes out to talk to all of us because they gave us dinner and they had the team chef make all of us a meal and everything else in the cafeteria at the facility. Bruce leaves a draft war room to come hang out with us for 20 minutes. I'm sorry, I don't want my GM doing that. I want my GM in the war room dialing and trying to wheel and deal and make trades and get the best available person. I don't want him hanging out and doing photo ops. At the time, as a fan, oh, it's kind of cool because you get to see, you know, Bruce Allen come out here and this and that. But in hindsight, I'm like, that's maybe one of the dumbest things I think he's ever done, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, I can't get with that. But like you said, at the time, you're in awe because it's Bruce Allen. Let's face it. It's the whole aspect of it all. You're at the park, you're having dinner. He comes out, and you're in awe. I get it, but in retrospect, hey, get back inside of there and get us some good players, man. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. And this is actually what Adam Peters had to say about how long it's potentially going to take to get this rebuilt.
You've had success throughout your career, but there were a couple of lean years early on in San Fran, no Pro Bowlers, 4-12 record. How long does a reset take, and how do you go about it here with the Commanders?
Yeah, those were dark days, but I think the thing that I could tell you is right away with the 49ers, maybe the results didn't show, but you could see it on the field, and you could see what we were doing on the field, and the fans could feel it, and they knew it was turning, and we were close. So it's really, you can't put timetables on it, but what I can tell you is that you're going to see a great competitors. You're going to see physical team. You're going to be really impressed with what you see on the field, and it's going to happen right away. Whether the results come right away, you know, that's a number of different factors. But you guys are going to be very proud of the team that we're going to put on the field.
I mean, let's be realistic. The Commanders, they haven't competed. I'd say they really didn't compete a ton at all this year, other than, you know, maybe the one Eagles game where we could have taken them instead of going to overtime. And in hindsight, the Eagles are actually just garbage. So that game to me doesn't really mean as much anymore. But I'm fine losing if we see them competing. We haven't seen that in a while. And Peter's talking about how it's going to take time and not wanting to actually give a timetable. This is what he did with the 49ers. In 2017, he became the player of personnel, and he went there after taking the Broncos and winning a Super Bowl with the Broncos. So in 2017, he was 6-10. Okay, you know, it's fine. 2018, they took a step back and went 4-12. All right, well, kind of sucks, but they're rebuilding. 2019, they went 13-3 and lost in the Super Bowl. Right. I mean, that's in 3 years they did that. I'm not saying it's going to be 3 years here, but realistically, they did that in 3 years. And in 2020, they took a step back and went back to 6-10. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Trades happening, people getting hurt, so on and so forth. He took over as the assistant GM in 2021. They went 10-7. 2022, they went 13-4. 2023, they went 12-5. I mean, the guy is a winner, and he knows what it takes to build teams. And it's been fun listening to sports talk around DC, because they're interviewing all these Bay Area people and all these analysts and having them on, because we don't really know a ton about this guy. You know, he's from LA. He played football at UCLA. One thing I thought that was kind of cool during his press conference, he took the time out to thank his high school coach. Did you see that?
I did hear that, and I thought that was kind of strange. But I mean, he's just letting you know how deep his roots go. So I could appreciate it. I thought it was strange, but at the same time, because I can't say I've ever heard that before. Normally, it doesn't go as low as the high school. It maybe starts at college, and then, you know, or it may start with your dad throwing you the football in the backyard every once in a while, and then you kind of skip your high school and go to, you know what I mean? You go to your college and that route. But the fact that he gave homage to his high school coach, that says a lot, man. I mean, he's bringing it all the way around full circle, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the NFL for 21 years. He has 3 Super Bowl victories, 6 conference championships, and 13 division titles under his belt. And he started as a scout for the Patriots. So, I mean, he's been around the league. He worked for Belichick, and Belichick respects him tremendously at that point. And don't worry, for you Commanders fans, Belichick ain't coming here. He's not been asked to interview here. They're not reaching out to him. And we'll get in to an update on the different coaches that we're talking to right now. But he spent 8 seasons with the Broncos and ended up winning a Super Bowl there and just helping build that team. And this guy is responsible for helping draft, 3 Pro Bowlers and 2 first-team All-Pros with the 49ers. George Kittle, 5-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro. Fred Warner, linebacker, considered one of the best linebackers out there, 3 Pro Bowls and 2 first-team All-Pros. Hufanga, 2022 Pro Bowler and first-team All-Pro. I mean, the guy knows talent, and it's not just talent in the first round. It's like
Right.
everyone says, oh, well, Ron drafted Cam Newton. Sorry, Stevie Wonder could have seen Cam Newton and said, okay, I'm taking him. But the
I mean, the
fact
guy
that
was
he's getting, yeah,
the guy was a specimen. I mean, come on, what 6'5", 250 pounds? I mean, or even taller than that probably. But he was a true specimen. So come on, everybody and their mom would have wanted to take him just because of his stature and his talent that he did in Auburn. But the biggest thing, Ted, and everyone can appreciate this, being able to evaluate talent. That has been where we have dropped off for such a long time. And if you don't do it right, you get what you get. And here we are with our squad, and now we have someone who is truly a great talent evaluator. And every pick may not hit, but the majority of them have hit. And that's what we're looking for. The majority of things. We understand that it's not gonna be as rosy as we may think it may be, but just hit on a couple of them each year. That's what I want, man. And I think that we got the right guy. Now we just got to find the coach and see what direction he and the coach want to go in to and go from there. But I told you before, my popcorn is ready and I'm enjoying the show thus far.
yeah. And every pick isn't going to hit. I mean, Trey
Mhm.
Lance did not hit. It did not work out, and they traded him away to the Cowboys at that point. But
Mhm.
he built up a strong enough team around that position to the point of a Mr. Irrelevant draft pick quarterback is able to succeed. And guess what? They recognized that Purdy had talent and brought him there. But what I'm saying is they don't have to find all these guys in the first round, the second round. George Kittle, one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end out there, a 5th round pick.
5th round, yeah.
Right? Can you think of a 5th round pick on our team that's actually done well? I mean, Cam Curl was what, 7th round? I think something like that. But other than that, I can't think of any true draft picks in the later rounds of the draft that have done well here in Washington. And let's just be realistic. We haven't had good talent evaluation in a long time. And you're 1,000% spot on. What's next is a head coach. And this is actually what Peters had to say about the head coach that he's trying to find here.
Have you been involved with some head coaching interviews already? How far along are you in that process? And do you have an inclination that, I want an offensive head coach, I want a defensive head coach? What qualities are attracted to you there?
We're looking for the best leader for this team, for the Washington Commanders. And so we have set criteria that we're going to have be aligned in that vision. And it's not going to be in a box. It's not going to be offense. It's not going to be defense. It's going to be the best leader for this organization.
I love that answer because he's not insulting anyone that they interviewed that they eventually might have to hire, because there are, I think, 8 coaching vacancies right now. I mean, I could be wrong. The one could be filled. I'm not sure, but there's more than 5 out there. So who knows? All these other teams are interviewing them as well. And he hasn't been a part of the interviews yet. The team did have a virtual meeting with Ravens associate head coach Anthony Weaver and their defensive coordinator, Mac McDonald. Dan Quinn is meeting with the team this Thursday, the Cowboys DC, that just got his ass stomped by the Packers. So if I'm the Commanders, I'd probably cancel that interview.
Yeah, don't want it.
No, not at all. And Raheem Morris is interviewing with the team today on Wednesday. And Ben Johnson has a virtual interview on Friday the 19th. So he's the number one person that everyone's saying is going to come here. If you look at FanDuel or DraftKings, whatever it may be, it's actually negative money for you to choose Ben Johnson right now as the next head coach of the Commanders.
So enlighten me and our listeners, Ted, if you can. What's so special about Ben Johnson?
What he's been able to do with that offense, with Jared Goff, and what he's been able to do with the talent they have there, and he's done it longer. A lot of people are talking about Slowick, the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, and what C.J. Stroud did this past weekend against the Browns. but he is a first-year guy over there. So he hasn't done it consistently. Counterpoint, though, some people out there like Slowick better because they don't feel the Texans have as much talent as the Lions do. So either way, you're going to get a good guy. I haven't seen that they have reached out to the Texans yet, but Ben Johnson is basically the new hot name because your offensive coordinators are the ones that typically get your head coaching jobs. It goes from quarterback coach to offensive coordinators, kind of that natural tree, then to head coach. There are a lot of fans out there that want a offensive coordinator to be the head coach for a couple of reasons. And to me, the logic is sound. You want him to guide your young team. You want him to grow up with that quarterback that you're going to have. And then on top of that, you don't want to have to worry about him getting poached by another team. So if you have a defensive coordinator that you bring in as your head coach and someone asks to interview you, your offensive coordinator, you have no place to promote him to, right? So he could go someplace else. Just like Dan Campbell is the head coach for the Lions, they're not going to get rid of Ben Johnson and promote they're not going to get rid of Dan Campbell and promote Ben Johnson. So Johnson, if he wants to take that next step, he's going to take position somewhere else. He's going to take interview somewhere else. So if you bring in that offensive guy and your team does well, because offense wins championships, let's be realistic. This ain't the old Ravens back in the day. Everyone was talking about the Browns and how their defense is so kick-ass and all they need is a quarterback to manage the game. Well, you saw how that worked out against the Texans this past weekend.
Yeah, Fluco did not do. Fluco was the average Fluco. That's what he was.
But if you bring in that offensive guy, then you don't have to worry about him getting poached by another team, assuming that they do well, and you're good there.
Okay, so you brought up a good point, and you basically said that he is a great manager of talent. And I gotta go back to, and I know that this is not the Dan Snyder era, so but hey, I'm traumatized. All right, so like much of our listeners, we're traumatized. Is he the one that will be picking the talent, or he's the one that once the talent is here, he'll corral them to get them to do what he wants to do, basically be a great motivator of men? Do you feel he can do that?
Are you talking about the head coach, or are you talking about Peters, the head coach?
Ben Johnson being the head coach. Well, do you feel that he will be able to corral the new men, not boys, but men, millionaire men that are coming here? Because the guy from Detroit, the head coach, what Campbell is his name?
Dan Campbell.
Campbell, to me, is a motivator of men, and I think they go by what he does. Now, can Ben Johnson become a Campbell? And if he's the coach, can he motivate the men? Because I'm telling you, Campbell, to me, is the one that gets Detroit. He is the oil to that team, to me, and he puts the fire on them. I don't know if Ben Johnson realistically can do that. And so I'm just trying to figure out, why are we just anointing him this position off the break? And that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like that hey, he's our guy, based upon what Campbell has done. So help me out here, bro, because I want to know, I want to be educated as well as our listeners want to know. And I'm afraid that based upon it's like Gibbs. You know, Gibbs was our guy who got everybody to go where he wanted them to go. Would the person underneath Gibbs be able to do a better job or as good or better job than Gibbs? And I don't know. And that's why I see Campbell. I'm not comparing Campbell to Gibbs for everybody to know that, but he's the head coach, and everybody followed Gibbs as well as they follow Campbell. Will they follow Ben Johnson? That's my biggest question of us just anointing him in the position and everybody else.
Yeah. If you talk to and read articles or just any different stories about Dan Campbell, people love him. But the offense goes through Ben Johnson. He is the one that spends all the time crafting that team. They averaged 26.9 points per game this year, right? They averaged 26.6 points per game last year. I mean, that offense has been a juggernaut for a while now. They've done well. The players have been motivated by him. In 2020, they averaged 23.6 points per game. So he has been the architect for that rebuild out there with different pieces coming in. Amon-Ra St. Brown, their run back, they've got a good team there. And Johnson has been the one that's been credited with that. Campbell, being a former player, was the guy that rallied the team around him. But even if you talk about Joe Gibbs, there are a lot of former players, Doc Walker, Brian Mitchell. They said Joe had to have other guys out there that he could delegate to, that people had to, because coach wouldn't curse at players. He would basically do things to piss them off. But when he got mad and people knew. I feel that Johnson is that guy. And the way he's able to scheme things, he has his players buying in. A lot of people are saying that the Eagles lost this year because they didn't buy in to their new offensive coordinator. The Eagles' new coordinator was just there for 1 year. And they're saying that's what might save Sirianni's job. But the players just gave up towards the end of the year around that guy and couldn't stand him. And to me, that's lack of motivation, lack of leadership. And this is actually what Adam Peters had to say about the most important factor in bringing in a head coach.
What's the most important factor in hiring a head coach?
I think in any head coach and any leader, it's just leadership. Leadership, great communication, being able to be honest, direct, and upfront, have all those qualities, and they're all intertwined. But those are the main qualities. You have to be very smart. You have to be very driven. There's so many different qualities that make up a great head coach and a great leader. But really, it's just about being a great person, a great human being that people will follow.
To me, that's what we've lacked. Ron was a good person. He wasn't a good leader, in my opinion. He was a former player. I just feel that the cancer diagnosis, COVID, everything else kind of took it out of him. And from a leadership standpoint, I think he kind of lost it. I feel that Ben Johnson is young. I don't want an old retread head coach. I don't want a guy that got fired from someplace else. I want a guy that hasn't won anything on his own. It's different, right? Adam Peters won a Super Bowl, but John Elway is the guy that gets credit for it. He didn't do it on his own. He came to DC because DC, according to him, is a blank slate. And he gets to make this place and put his fingerprints all over it. And I want our head coach to come here and do the exact same thing, to leave his imprint on it and be a leader. Because I just don't think Ron was when he was here. The guy didn't even know that we could get kicked out of the playoffs last year. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. And that could have truthfully have been his last year, but I get it. No one was going to fire him just walking in the door. That still baffles me. Well, obviously, like you and our listeners, we want the best man for the job, and I'm hoping that if it turns out that he is the best man for the job, that hey, he gets to be able to evaluate the talent and bring in who he wants and who he needs. As you said, he's got a blank slate. Everyone right now has a blank slate. Everyone, and so everyone can mold this clay into what they want it to be. And I'm just hoping that the fans allow them to mold this team the way it needs to be done, and does not run for the hills the first sign of issues coming down the pipe.
And that's why I wanted fans and listeners to know that it's not every situation is going to be like Houston, right? Not every situation is where you're going to get the second pick in the draft, just like we've got the second pick of the draft this year, and they're going to the divisional round of the playoffs. I think we're going to take a couple steps back, but as long as they're making progress and making steps forward, and you have a GM and a head coach that have the same vision and thought to what this thing can be and what it should be, that's all that matters. And there are definitely going to be fans that don't agree with what we do with that second pick. You know what? I don't care.
Oh,
I
Bro,
just,
that's life, though. I mean,
yeah,
we're still having issues with everything. Excuse me. So no matter, it even reverts back to the whole name thing. You got people who don't mind Commanders, who hate Commanders, who want to go back to red. It's going back to we've already
it ain't happening.
discussed it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. So anyway, but not everyone's going to be happy. So put your big girl panties on, big boy draws on, and roll with it. Otherwise, you basically got four options. Either you're going to move on, you're going to be mad from afar, you're going to cheer, and that was three. So I got three, and you're going to root for the team. Come on.
I just wish those people that are so negative about it, and even some of the players that don't want to be here for this rebuild, just move
Oh
on.
boy. Yep. Let
Just
them go.
move on. We don't need
Yep.
you. And this is actually what Peters had to say about the current roster.
Adam, David Aldridge with The Athletic. Welcome to D.C. I wonder what you think of the current roster.
I believe that there's a few cornerstone pieces in this roster. I believe we have a lot of work to do, and that's just evaluating everybody. And that's going to start with the coaches. When the coaches come in, we hire a head coach. We sit down together with the personnel department, and we sit down and evaluate everything and figure out where we need to be. So that's an ongoing process. I've started a little bit, but we have a lot of work to do, David.
I like that he's not coming to a determination about the roster on his own, that he wants to do that with the head coach. He wants to understand what players his head coach wants that are going to fit in that system and then go there. But he believes that we've got cornerstone players on this roster. And I'm curious from your standpoint, I could come up with 5 players out of 53 that are cornerstone, quote unquote, on this roster. I'm wondering if you could name the 5 that I came up with.
I'm going to say Curl. I'll say Payne. I'll say McLaurin. I'll say Reeves. And I'll say, It's difficult, bro. It really is.
Yeah.
Those are the top four that stand out to me off the break, as you can see. That fifth one, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So interesting because our lists are not the same.
Okay.
And I have Terry, Deron Payne, B-Rob, Sam
B-Rob.
Cosme, and Tressway. Right? Those are my cornerstones that you can build around, that you can count on. And Deron, because Deron balls out and his contract, basically doesn't let you do anything with him. B-Rob, the kid can run if given the right opportunity. Cosme was rated one of the best guards in the NFL, even though we drafted him to be a tackle. He got rated one of the best guards out there all season. And Tress is a freaking all-pro punter. But other than that, there is no one else on this roster that I would say is one of those cornerstone guys. And hearing you say Jeremy Reeves, from a special team perspective, yeah, I get that. I can see that. But to me, he's not someone I build a roster around. But Cam Curl, I didn't see as much from Cam this year as I was expecting. And maybe that's just because of the defense was just bad in general. But I didn't really see him ball out like the Cam from years prior. And I don't know if he's going to get that payday. His dad's thinking, looking at his PFF grades, his highest grade was against the Eagles, the second game we played him. He had as low as a, let's see here, 47, right, against the Jets. And he didn't have the year that I thought he was going to have to make them extend him. But I do feel that you have to extend Cam just because he's a 7th round pick. It shouldn't cost you as much to do, but I think he's going to hit free agency, and I don't know if he's going to be around. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, one thing that we do know, we know that players lie, coaches lie, the tape don't lie.
Yeah.
So we So when they go back and this new head coach is brought in and they will look at every position, and I'm sure at almost every game to see how they played in the beginning of the season versus midways as well as the end, who they feel is going to be someone that's going to step up even when the chips are down to be able to still give you that effort that this team is going to need, because John Allen said that he didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. He didn't want it. So if your body, if you've already made your mind up that you don't want to be a part of that, and your body language is saying that, will your effort on the field be that way as well? I tend to think that it probably would, even though I don't want to talk bad about John, just using his words against him, if you will. That happens, when you made your mind up that, hey, no, I don't want to be a part of that. You better almost be better off going someplace else. So they're going to look at all that and they're going to probably go through everything with a fine tooth comb, which is what we need, in all honesty. And it comes back to, it's going to come down to, hey, well, you know what can we get for that individual? I see a lot of people possibly going away and finding out what we can get for them and things of that nature, and trade bait. I really do see that if the right people with the right thinking come in on board with us, it's going to be just a show, bro. So like I said, get your popcorn ready.
Yeah. And we have 27 commanders will be free agents in 2024. It's you have a 53-man roster. 27 of them are going to be free agents, whether it's a unrestricted free agent, a restricted free agent, or an exclusive rights free agent. They're going to be free agents. So this roster is going to change. But those cornerstone players, who knows who Peters thinks they are? He's still obviously making that evaluation. It's going to be interesting to see which one of them we agree on, because obviously you and I don't agree on who they are, and I'm sure our listeners don't either. And just going back to Cam Curl real quick, his coverage grade, PFF, last year was an 80.8. This year, they gave him a 67.8. His overall grade last year was an 82.9. This year was a 66.6. That's actually the lowest they've graded him since he's been in the league. So according to them, then it's subjective, he's regressed. So I'd like to see what's going to happen there. But one thing Peters did say was he didn't think that this was going to be a total rebuild.
Today, there's a ton of great people in this building. So this is not a total rebuild. This is a wonderful group of people here that just needs leadership. That's what I think is the biggest thing, is we need leadership and an aligned vision. So that's what I'm going to bring here along with Josh and our head coach. And I don't think there's wholesale changes needed. I just think we need leadership here, and that's what we're here to bring.
Okay. He says that now. He says that now until he looks at the tape. But then again, maybe he does see something in the guys that shows, wow, if maybe the coach would have hypothetically jumped up and down more here to get their attention, maybe this might have changed this or that might have changed that. Who knows, bro? I'm not a head coach. I'm not a talent evaluator. I'm the guy who just yells touchdown and rah, 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 and gets the fans ready to get hyped up. That's what I am. I'm going to play my position, and I'm hoping that when they come down and they look at the nuts and bolts of this thing, that they will actually be able to say, this is where we were lacking. And he said leadership. So he's the one that gets paid millions of bucks. So I got to take his word and say, all right, well, now who are you going to bring in to become that leader? Because technically a general manager is not a leader as far as on the field.
Yeah, not on the field. So, he's going to have influence on the players that come in, but he's not doing anything with the game plan. I mean, the 49ers are still in the playoffs. I mean, they haven't even played the first playoff game, and he just left the team. Like, his work is done. Right? He constructed that roster. There's nothing else for him to do. There's no midseason or playoff trades or anything like that can happen. They're not picking anybody up off the waiver wire and adding that to that roster. So, yeah, you're 1,000% spot on. But tell me if this makes sense. Good coaches need great players to be successful. Great coaches can be successful with good players.
I go with the latter. I go with
truly
the
feel
latter.
that's the case.
Yeah, I
And
go with the latter.
Ron, I wouldn't call him a good coach, but he definitely wasn't a great coach. And we do have great players on this team, just not enough to make up for the lack of leadership that Ron did not bring to the table. The lack of just coaching. What was it? The skin tangibles that Larry would always put up, right? Offense, defense, special teams, head coach, right? If you're going to put those categories up there, I don't think there would be a coach that I would say Ron could outcoach in the NFL, right? And that's just because I felt that he was past his prime. What was that TV or that saying? Like that jump the shark, like that TV show Jump the Shark. Like Rivera jumped the shark when he came to Washington, right? We beat his ass in Carolina, and then we hired him after the fact.
A couple months later, here he is.
It's just, but I feel if we bring in and who knows if Ben Johnson's going to be a great head coach, but I feel that he's going to be a good head coach. I feel that he's going to be able to take the talent that we have and the talent that we're going to acquire and mold them into something that is going to make us happy as fans, right? You talk about, lowering your expectations. Now that's done now. My expectations are going to go through the roof now.
Oh boy.
It's changing, man. I can't accept mediocrity.
Easy, TT. Easy. No, don't do it to yourself just yet. Come on, man.
I'm there, man.
No. I'm not saying go to the ledge. Back up off the ledge. No, brother. No. Don't do it just yet. We've got to see where this thing is going to go. Now, one thing I think that this does is it saves us from being on Hard Knocks, because I don't think a new head coach can be on Hard Knocks. So I think that would save us from that aspect. But right now, bro, easy, TT. Come on, man. Easy.
I'm not saying we're going to pull a Texans and be in the playoffs next year, and that whoever we take at quarterback is going to, take us to the promised land. But all I'm saying is, for once, we have adults leading this organization. The inmates are not running the asylum anymore. And we finally have a chance to have real promise. Like before, we would have to lockbox our way into a championship. We would have to go on some crazy run for us to actually make it in the playoffs. Now, if we rebuild this thing the right way, I feel we got a shot. And it all starts with quarterback. And this is actually what Peters had to say about QB.
The quarterback position is the most important position in the NFL. How do you view the quarterback situation here in Washington now, and how do you plan to evaluate and maybe attack that position in the offseason or in the draft?
Quarterback, just like all the positions, we're going to sit down and evaluate. And that process will start once we hire the head coach and his staff, and we're going to do that collaboratively with the head coach, his staff, the personnel department, R&D, analytics, and come up with our evaluations for all that before we move forward.
I just love how he's not committing until we get that coach. That this is going to be a collaborative effort, man.
Yes, I love it as well, brother. I really do. It's so refreshing to hear that, because he's not throwing anybody underneath the bus. He's saying, hey, once we get the people in place, we're going to go through everything and figure out what can be done differently. And when is the last time that you heard our organization talk about R&D, research and development? I haven't heard that before.
No. So other than Coach Gibbs sleeping there in the trash truck coming in, I couldn't think of something.
No, and that's so refreshing, because they let you know that he ain't just blowing smoke up our butts. I honestly believe that there will be an R&D team to be able to look at everything. I mean, from the top to the bottom to the top. And more than likely, Sam ain't going to be the guy. Sam, he may be a backup because of his contract, but we saw what they did in San Fran. Yeah, we got rid of a guy. They got rid of Garoppolo. There's so many turnovers that they've had, and there's a reason why they did it, because they saw something that it wasn't what the fans said. It wasn't what it was what the coaches saw, and they knew it was time to move on. So don't be surprised.
Well, I
Oh
mean, you said it
gosh,
earlier. Tape don't lie.
tape
I mean,
don't lie.
Sam's tape isn't going to lie. Once you get down and evaluate how Sam did against good teams, it was bad. And just look at the teams left in the playoffs right now, right? You've got 8 teams left. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, first round pick, number 32 overall. The Texans, CJ Stroud, first round pick, second pick overall. The Bills, Josh Allen, first round pick, 7th pick overall. Patrick Mahomes, round 1, pick 10. The Bucks, Baker Mayfield, round 1, pick 1. Jared Goff, round 1, pick 1. Jordan Love, round 1, pick 26. And then your outlier, Brock Purdy, round 7, pick 262. So 7 out of those 8 quarterbacks were all taken in the first round. But yet, you got some in this fan base that think that Sam Howell is going to be the Brock Purdy outlier that's going to take us to the divisional round of the playoffs, or that we shouldn't draft a QB with a number 2 pick. And I could not disagree with those people in this fan base more. You never know when you're going to pick this high again. And you don't want to have to give up assets like you did to get RG3 when you traded away the farm to the Rams to try and move up this high. So we're here. I want that QB that our brand new head coach can mold into what he wants to be. And who knows, maybe he can be a CJ, or maybe it takes a couple of years like it did with Mahomes waiting underneath, behind Alex Smith. And you get a chance to do that behind Jacoby Brissett. But I am 1,000% on board if they decide to take a QB with that 2 pick, just because of the talent that it takes and the pedigree you need to go in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's going to be their guy. It's not going to be someone who they inherited. It's going to be their guy, and that's what I like. Once again, we've got a clean slate of clay that we are going to be molding, and the first round may not be pretty, but we're molding it the way that we want it to be molded, and I look forward to it.
I can't wait. And we've got 5 picks in the top 100, and it's going to be 90 million in cap space they're projecting. So one of the questions that they asked was, does he build through the draft and rebuild this team that way, or does he do it through free agency? And this is what Peters had to say.
A lot of money available here in free agency, and obviously a bunch of draft picks. How do you kind of value building a team in free agency versus the draft?
Yeah, I find this a very similar situation from when we got to San Francisco in 2017. A lot of great similarities, so I have a lot to lean on from that experience, both things we did well and things we didn't. But ultimately, we were going to build through the draft here and supplement through free agency. We're going to be very process-driven and diligent in who we select in free agency, but we're going to build through the draft here.
I love hearing that, man, because he has a bunch of players in San Fran that have second contracts at this point. And that means that you did your job building through the draft, that those players turned into something to the point of you want to keep them on your team, right? Just looking back at our drafts, let's just say 2020, 4 years, right? James Smith-Williams is a free agent this year, right? Cam Curl, free agent. Khalil Hudson, Keith Ishmael, not even on the roster. AGG, Gandy Golden, not on the roster. Sadiq Charles hasn't panned out. Antonio Gibson, free agent. Chase Young, gone. That was 2020. 2021, Dax Milne, not here. Shaka Tony, not working out. William Bradley King, Cameron Cheeseman, Derek Forrest. Okay, Derek got hurt. I'll give him Derek. John Bates, sorry, blocking tight end, not really working out. De'Ami Brown probably won't be here next year. Benjamin St. Juice, to me, he's regressed a ton. The only person that hit on this draft, Sam Cosme, at that point. Jamin Davis probably won't be here next year. I mean, just from a draft history perspective, just go back and look. The 2019 draft. Who the hell is Jordan Brailford? Jimmy Moreland? Remember Jimmy Moreland, the People's Corner? Everyone loved him. What's he doing? Kelvin Harmon?
I think he was playing for an NFL team, but I'm not sure if he's playing for an NFL team anymore.
You know, Bryce Love, Cole Holcomb, not here. Montez Sweat, not here. Dwayne Haskins, not here. Just we're missing on the draft. And then you bring in these free agents that don't pan out well. The Norwells, the Turners, just all these guys that just don't work out. And you cannot afford to miss there. But if you do this properly, which I really feel that we're going to do for a change, then, man, it's raise my tickets. I'm fine with it. You know, it's just take my money. I'm good right now. I'm happy about this.
So you're telling me that you would rather you're okay with your season tickets being raised at this point? You would have been okay with it?
Yeah,
like me. I would have been okay. Right, I would have been okay if they raised them hypothetically next week, and we talked about this, or 2 weeks from now. Once we bring in our head coach, I would have been okay with them raising ticket prices, but I was not okay with them raising them when they did. Show me more of what I'm getting for my money, and then let me pay for it, if you will.
Yeah. Those fans that are on the fence that haven't renewed yet, Rally and I don't get paid by the team. They do not give us any perks or anything like that. We're not going to. All I'm saying is, I'm in for this ride. Peter signed a 5-year deal. He'll be here for quite some time. I cannot wait to see who we get at head coach. I'm thinking about going to Detroit for the draft. I mean, it's not that far a place to go. We got the second pick. Maybe we can sneak in the inner circle or ask a hog farmer to let us, be their +1 in the inner circle. This is getting exciting, man. And it feels good for a change. And it hasn't felt this way in quite some time.
Well, let me tell you, brother, I've already got my plane ticket.
To Detroit?
Oh, yeah.
I want to do it, man. I don't think Mean Girls is going to be coming to town that week, so I might be able to get out of husband duties then. But I want to go as long as I can get in the inner circle at that point. Because I did the inner circle during COVID, where I had to redo my house and make it look like a man cave. That doesn't count. I want to be down there front and center for the drafts, man. I get to wear my 2024 season ticket holder chain, show it off to the world. So it'll be good.
Hey, on that note, I hear the music playing in the background, which lets us know that this ride is over for this week. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. And once again, do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe. It still does help us. It goes a long way. It really does. And man, Detroit, look out, because the captain will be en route. Make no bones about it. Remember, you rep it hard, or you don't rep it at all. Tailgate Ted, Rally Captain. See you next week. We're out.